Two of the shortest tempers in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, two of the strongest characters in 2 Blue Vortex, and they just happen to be placed on the same team, tasked with protecting the most dangerous / vulnerable girl on the planet. Yes, Mamushi may not realize it just yet, but Sarada Uchiha and Delta teaming up is basically his worst possible nightmare, because this isn't just some random assignment. This isn't Shikamaru throwing random bodies at a problem. This is a huge narrative alarm bell going off. Sarada and Delta being revealed as being a two-man team, a defensive unit meant to protect Ada, tells us one very important thing. Mamushi is getting closer to Ada's location, even if he himself doesn't realize it just yet. And the fact that these two are one of the last lines of defense for Ada, that changes absolutely everything. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video where your OBC, your original Boruto chief, takes a deep dive into the importance of the looming Sarada and Delta team up. Also, if you haven't already, make sure to check out the chapter review, which will be up on the channel and will be linked in the end credits and the description box for those of you guys who have not seen it just yet. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. So we first have to start with why this team exists at all. So this is pretty basic to get through. Right now, Mamushi has over 100 clones active. Each of them are just as strong as the real Mamushi. This situation, it is escalated beyond even what Shikamaru himself initially anticipated. And that's a key, because Shikamaru is not somebody who panics very easily. He has backup plans for his backup plans of his backup plans. So when the story quietly tells us that he is having Sarada and Delta observe instead of engaging, that means something. That means that we've gone beyond anything that Shikamaru is calculated for. And that also means that they are no longer just frontline responders, but instead they are contingency plans. This team, it doesn't exist solely to clean up clones. That's what you have Boruto and Kawaki there for. They exist potentially for one purpose only, because you got to remember, Sarada was told to stand by even before Mamushi hit 100 clones. It's very likely they're meant to protect Ada as one of the last lines of defense, assuming something gets past Boruto or Kawaki. Not to say that those two characters get defeated, but just given the sheer volume of the number of clones, somebody could slip through. That alone implies Mamushi's search pattern. The clones, they've been spread, and the battlefield chaos, it is funneling him even closer to Ada, even if he's just acting off of instinct rather than awareness. We know that he doesn't know exactly where she is, just based on the fact that he went to the Hokage Tower, but even with this intelligence being split, he still had enough self-awareness to go to the Hokage Tower, because if anybody would know where Ada would be, it would be the Hokage. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense when you think very closely at this. Mamushi is being drawn to Ada without even realizing it. Mamushi is being driven by obsession, fixation, and inherited impulses. He has a very animalistic behavior to him to a degree. He doesn't need to consciously know Ada's location. He's much like a predator that's searching for its prey. All he needs is a potential scent or a basic understanding, and he's going to begin the hunt. He just needs to move towards whatever gravity swell is drawing him towards her. And that's basically Ada's existence. She is the linchpin to omnipotence. He is drawn to her because of the connection with Bug. Ada is also one of the most emotionally charged presences in the village, just because of her ability to enchant people. And again, she's the one that casts omnipotence. Killing Ada does not reverse everything, but Ada is the only person that can reverse omnipotence. When you add in that charm ability, which that's a byproduct of omnipotence, that's what she used omnipotence for the first time, because she desired people to love and care for and etc. You could almost view Ada as being the sun that so many different planets, in this case people, orbit around her. Even unintentionally, Mamushi's clones spreading outward, they are functionally triangulating Ada's position, even if they don't realize it. That's why Sarada and Delta being there, stationed there, matters so much. And that's where things do get a little abstract here. This is the story telling us, if Mamushi gets past this point, if he gets past Boruto and Kawaki and etc., things are going to get out of hand very quickly. Things potentially are about to get personal. Delta and Sarada, they aren't just strong. Make no mistake, they are strong, but they aren't just strong. They're emotionally locked in when you think about their characters. And that's where it gets dangerous for Mamushi. Sarada and Delta, they don't just protect Ada out of duty. They protect Ada for completely different but also equally intense reasons. And it all goes back to emotion. Very fitting given the purpose and the narrative of Ada's character. Delta is under the influence of omnipotence. She is, very bluntly put, a simp, somebody that idolizes mediocre pussy. Hate to get vulgar like that, but that's what simp means. And at the end of the day, Delta's behaving like that. Because of Ada's ability, she fell head over heels for her. She is hyperprotective. She is aggressively loyal. If Mamushi threatens Ada, Delta won't just fight, she'll be going for overkill. Her combat skill, and in particular her style, it is very reckless, it is direct, it is brutal, and she's now been upgraded since the end of Boruto Part 1. That was the whole purpose of Amado remodeling her, because as we know, Amado made multiple clones of his daughter. They have the memories of his daughter, but not the personality. Ada makes a direct point to say she is nothing like Delta. Akibi's nothing like Delta at all, but Delta's body was specifically upgraded to be able to fight against Code. Granted, this was Code who still had his limiters, but the idea was that Delta would have been strong enough to take down that version of Code. That is a very powerful character, and that is also a character with a lot of hacks. Those destructive eye beams, if they land, they don't just explode targets per se. They break them down on a cellular level. A Mamushi clone is getting hit by something that it won't be able to regenerate from. It's just gone. That's probably going to be the reason why Delta never gets a chance to land a hit on the true Mamushi. Then when you get to Sarada, Sarada is the exact opposite. And that's what makes this pairing so terrifying. In a way, they kind of act like a yin and a yang to each other. Sarada is protecting Ada not because of manipulation via omnipotence, but instead because of choice. Pure, genuine, sincere choice. Ada was once somebody that Sarada viewed as an enemy, somebody that Sarada once viewed that she may have to fight, but now she is a comrade, she is a friend, she is something truly special to Sarada. She is somebody that Sarada is actively choosing to stand beside. She is somebody that Sarada can confide in. In this world of chaos where her father is viewed as a rogue ninja, where Boruto, a boy that she loved, is viewed as a Kage killer, Ada's one of the few people that Sarada can confide in. And that matters immensely when you look at what it is that Sarada represents, and especially when you look at how Sarada's characters, even going as far back as Naruto chapter 700, when Masashi Kishimoto wrote that and then wrote Naruto Gaiden, that being the Shin Uchiha arc, and also drew Naruto Gaiden. Sarada's character arc was always centered around love. What Ikimoto did was not a bastardization of the character like people have been saying. To be blunt, the people saying that he's ruined it with the whole love aspect. You didn't understand Sarada's character to begin with, but I say that to say this directly lends itself to Sarada's dream of becoming the next Hokage. So Naruto as a franchise has drilled this into our head in terms of a lesson and a core principle of Naruto for decades, and it's something that every time I say it, there are still people who do not understand it, which is that the story has told us repeatedly and shown us repeatedly that a shinobi cannot access their true power unless they're fighting for someone precious or they're fighting for an ideal that is worth dying for. I think part of the problem of this just comes down to the fact that a lot of people, Naruto is their childhood, they keep up with everything off of clips, or there are a lot of people that binge watched everything when COVID happened, etc. A lot of people have not gone back and looked over Naruto to begin with, which is completely fine. I'm a casual fan with stuff as well. Case in point, I'm a casual fan of the Shikimori's Not a Cutie manga / anime. I haven't read the manga since it ended. I enjoyed it, and I remember a lot of stuff about it, but I know there's going to be some stuff that if you asked me, I would have to double check because I haven't reread it and the manga's been over for years now. Which, side note, I'm currently rereading the manga because I'm going to do a video about it on my other anime channel. But when you make accusations like that, that's where it does kind of become a problem in terms of saying that this was an ass pull when it's not. With Sarada, when you look at her choice to protect Ada and how that's going to link into her Hokage dream, Sarada protecting Ada hits on both of these conditions when you look very closely. She's protecting a comrade. She's protecting somebody who used to be an enemy. She's standing for that ideal that people are not defined by where they start. That is a full circle moment going all the way back to chapter 1 of 2 Blue Vortex, when she tells Shikamaru, reminds him, Lord Seven stood up for my father. When the whole world said that my father had to go, Lord Seven didn't give up on him. That feeds into the line of thinking, that ideal that people are not defined by where they start. That's why I referenced Naruto Gaiden to begin with. What was one of the lessons that Naruto taught her without having to directly teach her? She was there when Naruto could have killed the Shin clones. He and Sasuke could have wiped them all out. What happened in the Naruto Gaiden manga is a little different than what you saw in the anime, but one thing that both of them had in common is that Naruto took those Shin clones and he put them in Kabuto's orphanage. Where you are starting from does not define where a person is. Sarada got introduced to Ada as an enemy. She does not view her as an enemy. That's Hokage level thinking when you just take that down to the bare minimum and look at the nuances of that relationship. And that also applies to Sarada herself. She has evolved from how she originally looked at Ada. A future Hokage doesn't just protect allies that they like. They protect people that the village needs, even when it's complicated. Ada is somebody that the village needs, even if the village itself doesn't understand why they need her. And Sarada doing this with her Mangekyo Sharingan, an eye that is awakened because of love from a clan that feels love deeper than anything else, that just goes right back to it. A shinobi, when they have something that they love, something to protect, something that is an ideal that they are willing to put their life on the line for, they can draw out their full power. That is poetic. Her Ohirume ability, that gravity manipulation, it allows her to control movement. It allows her to achieve Otsutsuki flight level speed, and by control movement, I mean via the gravity. She's also able to crush enemies by compressing and detonating them inside those gravity spears. Instead of destroying a village like her father attempted to do, and obviously was stopped by Naruto, Sarada, she becomes a shield for the village. She becomes a controlled, precise force that is protecting someone that she once mistrusted. That is leadership. That is growth. Being blunt, that is Hokage energy. That is Sarada taking the steps towards becoming Hokage without having the Hokage cloak. Even if she's following orders, that's completely fine. Because in order to lead, you have to know how to follow, and you have to have follow before you can lead. And taking it a step further, the combat potential here, it has a lot of room for a lot of fan service. Like, this could be really good. So I want to be completely honest here. I do like both of these characters, so I do want to put my bias there. But the combo attacks that can be set up by a Sarada and Delta team up is absolutely insane. Like, both Sarada and Delta can fly. Sarada controls gravity. Delta controls those eye beams that she can fire with precision. Cellular destruction abilities. That means in theory, Sarada could lock onto a Mamushi clone, multiple Mamushi clones, lift them into the air where they can't move. Delta could just shoot them like fish in a barrel. She could crush them with gravity spears. She could also, because she is shown redirecting Ryu's attacks, she could literally redirect Delta's eye beams to open up the door for off-guard attacks and things of that nature. This could get very, very interesting when you think about it. And then taking a step further, she could also hurl one of those Mamushi clones into one of Delta's eye beams. That's instant deletion. No generation, no escaping, no adaptation. That's controlled chaos. Raw aggression plus tactical dominance. If Mamushi ever pushes far enough to trigger this duo, that clone count, it could be dropping very fast. It might not be as sexy as what you see with Boruto and company, but that is something that you do have to look at. Then taking it a step further, Mamushi has already begun the process of losing this exchange. That's the cruel irony here. he doesn't even realize what he's walking into. He thinks that he's spreading those clones to find Ada quickly, but in reality, he's facing and approaching multiple fighters, two of which have the strongest emotional ties to Ada outside of her brother Damon. With Sarada and Delta, those are two combatants who will fight harder than anyone else when it comes to Ada outside of Damon. That's a symbolic wall that represents loyalty and choice and protection. This isn't a battle checkpoint, though it'll probably be treated like one. Symbolically, there's a little bit more you can dig into. And taking a step further, this is also a narrative judgment gate. When you cross it, and Mamushi is in the process of crossing it, he stops being the hunter. Instead, he becomes the hunted. Delta and Sarada guarding Ada in terms of being one of the last lines of defense. That's not random. In a way, it's a narrative warning. Mamushi is closer than he thinks he is. And the defenses, they're no longer theoretical. And the people standing between him and his goal, those are two of the angriest, strongest, and most emotionally invested fighters in the village itself. So if Mamushi does get out of line, which he will, they're going to smack that baby oil out of his hands, and he's going to learn what happens when gravity and rage hit all at the same time. Obviously, if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, clicking on the left to check out that chapter review, or click here on the right, check out the newest video on my Anime Explained channel where I talk about non-Naruto anime and manga.